Hi, my name is Sam Johnson and I am a voice teacher. I'm going to be reacting to and analyzing Jessie J performing My Heart Will Go On.
Every night in my dreams, I see you, I feel you. That is how I know you. Go on.
She started it so gently. A lot of times when I've heard her sing, it's a really big sound. I haven't heard her sing like this as much before, and I wish that she would use this more in some of her more popular recordings.
Far across the distance and spaces between us, you have come to show you. Go on. Near, far, wherever you are.
This is a really good example of how to do R's when singing pop music. She lets it color it just enough that it doesn't take over completely. But sometimes what happens when people sing R's over and over like this is they go near, far, wherever you are, and that just doesn't sound quite as good. But she's making it just a little bit, just at the end of phrases, and letting the vowel still do most of the work. Near, far, wherever versus wherever you are. That line could so easily become a sea of R's.
I'll believe that the heart does go on. Once more, open the door, and you're here in my heart.
It sounded like for a second like the sound was coming back a little bit more, and then she brought it back forward, and I prefer it in that place. But again, I don't think that there's anything super wrong with it, and she's doing it at such a low volume and not pushing into it at all, and that's what let it at least still be good, where if you were pushing a little bit more and you go between this more forward type feeling and a kind of more back one, that's where it gets a little bit shaky, and she's not doing that. She just let it be easy on both places and used it to color it so that it's just a little bit of an effect, a little bit hootier, a little bit lighter.
Heart will go on and
She used a little NG to start that go. So if you start the go, g, your tongue is up in the back. If you vocalize through that, g, that's where the NG happens. I love that she used that NG to help make the G a little bit less tense, a little bit less forceful, because instead of that, she was just able to glide into the NG and then use the G to just open it up into a bigger sound. But it wasn't like G where it creates a ton of pressure. It was go on, and it was a light G. It was a very gentle G.
love can touch us one time and last for a lifetime and never let go till we're gone.
So this verse, she's starting to use a little bit more stylized vowels. It's what makes it sound like Jessie J if you turn it on, and it's a little bit wider. Some of it goes into a really nasty place and then backs off. It's all of these little things that she didn't do very much when she sang the first verse. But now she's letting it go a little bit more into Jessie J style rather than like Celine Dion style.
Love was when I loved you one true time. I'll hold you in my life. We'll always go on. Yeah.
right before she goes to the high note, because the next phrase is where she goes forever, where it's high, she sets it up well by going far rather than near, far, wherever, near, far, wherever you are. It's a small difference, but when you start getting high like that, every little difference like that makes a big difference.
Wherever you are, I'll believe that my heart will go on.
Because she set it up well, she was able to go into a little bit different style of a vowel because it wasn't trying to fix anything as she went up. She held on to this kind of internal feeling of narrowness, which she set up for with the more, and then she was able to open her mouth a little bit broader on the top for style while maintaining that internal narrowness. And because of that, she didn't pull chest voice up, she just let it go up into an easy, still full and connected place.
In your hearing, my heart and my heart will go on and on.
That was nice. That was nice too, because when she went to here, you're here, she kind of let the vowel thin everything else out, so it didn't carry up as much weight. If she wanted to carry up the weight, then it would have probably gone to you're here and gotten bigger. She didn't do that. She backed off, and then the next phrase where it's actually important to be forward like that, E, where nothing was already forward because it was set up by the thing before. How you make your vowels matter, not just because of the first time that you make it, but because of how it sounds for the phrase right after.
And I know that my heart will go on. We'll stay forever this way.
That time she didn't set it up quite as clean. You'll stay forever, and that forever had just a teeny bit of distortion. It's for style. It still sounds pretty easy, but I think that if she set it up right before, the way that she had some of her other phrases, that this next note would have been a little bit more clean. And you can see that this is the first one where there is a little bit of visible neck tension and stuff, and it's not forever into the note. It's just right at the beginning. She's starting with that kind of tension. I do think it's because she started it right before. So if this was inconsistent, that's what I would look at first. She still found a way to find this place pretty consistently. It's just a little bit more risky, I think.
You are safe in my heart, and my heart will go on and on.
That's
My heart will go on, yeah.
I love that little vowel, that kind of French thing, that and it kind of goes along with the NG that she was doing before, of just helping to place the voice in an easier way rather than getting really beefy. For me, it just feels thinner and easier when I start using those NGs and those French vowels. That time she was thinking about what the top note required before she got anywhere near it. She started that note already knowing, okay, the top note is going to be so thin and my mouth is going to be just massive. And so she started in that way because she wasn't really concerned about the notes coming at the bottom, and they still sounded fine, but I mean, her main concern was what's going to work up high and trying to minimize the amount of changes that you need to go from the low place to the high place. It kind of worked that she was able to just find what works on the high note, start there, and then when she gets to the high note, she didn't have to make any changes.
Safe in my heart, and my heart will on and on.
Yeah, and then that ending part, she brought it back to how she started the song, which was much more spoken in her intent. Through a lot of the rest of the piece, she was using very stylized vowels rather than what she would use for speech a little bit more. And it's arguable, like, whether that makes it easier or harder. I think it kind of is harder to achieve the sounds that way, where if she was able to just start right like that, which she's obviously proved that she can do, and then just lean into that sound to make it bigger, but then you wouldn't get the style that she's getting. So she has to find this balance of like, okay, here's my style, what am I doing that allows me to get there, and then try to strip away the things that are not helping you get there. And when you strip away those extrinsic muscles and any weird things that you're doing, it becomes a little bit easier to start using these big stylized vowels. The thing that's helping her also, though, is knowing what a good non-stylized vowel feels like. So she could have sung this whole thing completely straight without doing all of the big stuff. She could have kept her vowels really narrow and really basic all the way through. But at that point, that's more of a vocal exercise than how you should actually perform it. Because when you go to perform, you're going to want your emotions to start influencing how you perform it, rather than just keeping it super, super basic and technical all the way through. And what is nice about having that bass and being able to do it in a very technical way is that you know what it feels like to sing well, and then you can make little adjustments on it and go away from like this perfectly technical sound and not lose your place. If you skip that step of just knowing what singing easy feels like and just try to start going to like really weird stylized things, then it becomes a little bit harder because you don't have a home base to come back to. You just have this weird guessing game of, is it going to work when I go out here and is it not, rather than having something that's consistent all the way through in your voice. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Go check out my description below. I have links to my Patreon, my Instagram, and my website, vocalese.net, where you can go if you're interested in signing up for voice lessons with me. Thank you.